Good morning, my beautiful kings and queens. I hope that this is a beautiful and a blessed day for you all. So today I want to talk about the common misconception that many people have that someone has to lose in order for you to win. Just because someone is doing well in life, doing well at what they do, or doing well at the game, does not mean that you also cannot do well. Just because someone is in their lane does not mean that you have to cut over and bypass them in the lane. We all have a common misconception that in order for you to do well, that you have to push someone else down. That is from a mindset of scarcity. That is from a mindset of fear, that if someone is doing well, they will bypass me and there won't be enough space for me also to do well. This is what we have been taught. We are in a spirit of competition. What you have to understand is that God has made it so that everything on earth thrives in its own time. There are certain seasons where you will see a flower bloom. And there are certain seasons where that flower is not blooming, it's budding. The same with us as human beings. We have certain seasons where we are blooming and certain seasons where we are not blooming. That's understanding time and season. What is someone's time may not be your time. What is someone's season may not be your season. But just because you look over at a rose bush and you see the rose bush blooming does not mean that the sunflower now cannot bloom. If you notice, there are two different flowers and their time of blooming is different. So we have to understand that there is always enough. There is always sufficient in anything. If you are in a certain trade and you see the next person doing well, that does not mean that you can't do well also. And sometimes too, like I'm a hairstylist, sometimes you see, or I'll come across another hairstylist and they feel like because, oh, you have a lot of customers, I can't have a lot of customers. That is so far from the truth, because once you understand that, hey, I'm in my lane and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, that does not mean that the next person cannot prosper. That does not mean that the next person also cannot do well, because if you stay in your lane and I stay in my lane, we're both going somewhere. But if we're competing for the same lane, like back and forth, there's going to be an accident. So when you get out of the mindset of scarcity, when you get out of the mindset of I have to compete with this next person in order for me to do well, this person has to go down. You know, you got to get out of that mindset, because there's enough to go around. There is enough for everyone to thrive. There is enough for everyone to prosper and do well. And just because someone does the same thing as you doesn't mean you have to look at the person's side eye every time you see them. No one is your competition. And when you understand that and you get that I'm not competing with anybody. The only person you should be competing with is the person that you were yesterday, is the past version of yourself. You should constantly be looking at that past version. You should constantly be examining that past version of yourself and like intentionally try to be better than that person, not anybody else. Nobody else should be your measuring stick. You can use people as inspiration, but nobody should be your measuring stick. The only thing that you should be measuring up against is the person you were yesterday, is the person you were last year, is the person you were even 5 minutes ago. You should constantly be working on yourself to improve who you are, so that the future versions of yourself are better, the future versions of yourself are wiser, the future versions of yourself are stronger than how you used to be, not anybody else. What somebody else has going on has nothing to do with you. The same God that provides for them will provide for you. So you have to get out of that spirit of competition. You got to get out of the spirit of there's not enough to go around. You got to get out of the spirit of it's scarce. There's not enough for me. There's not enough for all of us. There's enough. God has made it enough. There's no competing. There's no competing. You're just supposed to bloom. You're just supposed to be the person that you were created to be. And once you get out of that, then you open up yourself to thrive. You open up yourself to do better, because now my measuring stick is not the person next to me. I'm not watching the rose bush next to me bloom. I'm focusing on getting the nutrients I need as a sunflower so I too can bloom. So we got to stop watching each other with that mindset of scarcity, with that mindset of there's not enough to go around. There's plenty to go around. The God of the universe made plenty. We're not lacking anything. So when you get into that mindset that I don't lack anything, now you open up yourself for abundance. You open up yourself for the blessings, because now I'm not watching the person next to me. I'm watching my blessings. I'm watching my plate, and I'm grateful for what's on my plate instead of watching the next person's plate. So I hope you guys have a beautiful and blessed day. And just remember, there is enough to go around. Love you guys.